Welcome to No Apologies on Beck, where we are unafraid to speak the truth. I am your host, Rick Becker, and our co-host, Lori Hintz.
Hi there, good to be here.
It's feeling like Friday to me.
I know,
I don't know why.
It's
I'm feeling loose
Tuesday.
and free, like I have no worries tomorrow, but
awesome.
Au contraire.
Okay. Well, we've got a great show tonight. We've got an excellent guest. I think you're going to really enjoy this.
Joey Gilbert. He's coming up, and we're going to be talking to him about several things, one of which is COVID myths. But first up, I want to talk about the G7. G7. So the G7, we hear a lot about in the news, and I just want to let you guys know what it is and why I don't like it, what's happening with it now. They've just met. The G7 is a club.
It is.
It's
a globalist club.
Yeah, and they call it a forum. It includes the United States, Canada, Great Britain, France, Germany,
Japan.
Italy, Japan. I think that's 7.
That's 7.
Okay. Then they also invite people to come along too. There's also a representative from the European Union in general. Russia used to be part of it. It was a G8.
Yeah, that's
Then they got out in 2014. Now it's anyway, the thing is that this club of leaders, it's not based on a treaty. There's nothing binding, and yet somehow they wield incredible influence. It started off in 1973 with a meeting of the finance ministers of these countries, and then it just sort of evolved like things do. And now it is essentially a club for globalists with a very progressive agenda. Now, when Trump was going to the G7, it didn't go as well because he had the position that I think I would have, that these people
do not reflect my values.
No, there's a movie, I forget what it is, but the guy sitting in the plane and he says, "Those people make my butt twitch." He says a different word, but I think that's how I feel. That if I was with these folks and they're talking all this crap, this progressive globalist garbage, I would hate to be there. I'm guessing Trump hated to be there, or maybe he enjoyed it because he probably played games. Before I get into what they've been talking about, I want to run a clip just because we brought up Trump here compared to Biden, and you hear all sorts of great things on the mainstream media right now about what Biden was doing and how great it is that he was over there and that he's a refreshing breath of fresh air compared to Trump. But I want you guys to hear what some of the media around the world is saying about Biden versus Trump at the G7. Play it.
I want to go to the US now, because the media has been gushing as their beloved Joe Biden prepares for his trip to the United Kingdom to attend the G7 summit. Listen to how CNN is reporting this momentous event.
Joe Biden is stepping onto the world stage for the first time as president, and equal to foreign leaders.
Now, let's go back in time to 2018 and see if those same newsrooms offered the presidency of Donald Trump such light and positive coverage.
Dramatic and deepening G7 divide, better put perhaps as G6 versus 1.
Sophie, they're essentially they're calling it the G6 when Trump's there, but Joe Biden's there, and it's momentous and it's positive and it's glowing, and they're trying to give the illusion that he doesn't have any disputes with any of these international leaders. What do you think of that?
I just think Joe Biden is a lucky person. He has got all the media on his side, or most of the media on his side, particularly CNN, completely at odds with what they did to Trump. So, his popularity surely can only win from this because he's getting so much positive PR through the journalists who are massive fans of him. It's really quite appalling to watch. And what happened to straight news reporting, which doesn't seem to be existent there?
Yeah, isn't that something? So that's Australian news, and it's obvious to them because they're looking at it unfiltered as opposed to what we get through our mainstream media. Right. So I wanted to talk about a couple of things that the G7 summit was referencing. We had as a graphic, the global minimum tax sparks controversy as the G7 kicks off. So here's what this is what's crazy, folks. These guys get together and they talk about wanting to have a minimum tax for all the countries in the world, as though there's no sort of sovereignty of your own country. This is what blows my mind. So they've agreed that there should be a minimum of a 15% corporate tax. United States has 21%. Under Trump, it dropped down. Biden wants to increase it to 28. And so what they're trying to do is prevent other companies from moving to other countries with a better tax climate. So they recognize, this is the amazing thing, they recognize that lower taxes is better for the country because it brings businesses in. They don't want to have lower taxes in their own country, but they don't want other countries to have low taxes either because they want to tax the crap out of people but not have them leave. It's astounding.
That is astounding.
And Janet Yellen, our Treasury Secretary, has used the quote that it's a race to the bottom. Now, usually we have race to the bottom as a phrase which is very negative, it has a negative connotation. What they're talking about here is a race to the bottom, meaning countries trying to compete to have the lowest tax rate to try and get companies brought into their country to improve their overall economy. That's the race to the bottom that they're trying to prevent.
That's crazy. Why would you prevent that? That's exactly the goal. That's amazing to me.
It is amazing. I think it's phenomenal. In addition to this global tax, which, by the way, hopefully it will not come into play because it should be only in a formal treaty. That treaty would need to be approved and ratified by the Senate. Yes, and hopefully that would not happen. Although, again, just like H.R. 1, just like so many of the other things, we don't know if they're going to change the rules and eliminate the filibuster. Another thing that is going on in G7, and this has been prominent for a long time, G7 is the group that came up with the Paris Agreement, where developed nations like the United States would be sacrificing everything to bring down emissions, and yet China would be given a free pass, all in the name of climate change and so forth. And so they brought this up, and they brought into play so much more. They're basically bringing in AOC's New Green Deal for the world.
Yikes.
And they have here, in their statement, they gave a joint statement, and they vowed a new deal for the continent of Africa. So what we're talking about is the 1930s, the Roosevelt-era big government that they want to use using taxpayer money from their own countries to benefit Africa, with policies that in the United States in the 30s caused the Depression to go on for an extra decade unnecessarily. And they also want a heavy investment in a green revolution for the world. They also covered hate speech.
No way.
Yes. And they also want to eliminate inefficient fossil fuel subsidies, but they haven't said what inefficient fuel is.
Right.
It's hard to say. But they're very much going for carbon neutral, just like our Governor Burgum. Governor Burgum wants to, much like these global leaders, he's very progressive, he wants to be carbon neutral by 2030. These guys want to cut emissions in half by 2030, but they want to be carbon neutral by 2050. But they're giving other countries passes. There's all sorts of disagreement. Essentially, a lot of what comes out of the G7 is a lot of this and not much action. Thank God.
Thank goodness,
because if they
right.
were actually able to implement their progressive globalist agenda into action, we would all be in trouble. But that's it for a G7 update, folks. Next up, we have Joey Gilbert. This guy's a rock star. Wait till you meet him. Hang with us. We'll be right back.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Hey Bucks fans, if you're planning an outing, birthday, or employee appreciation night, then bring your group out to the Buck Stop for a night of fast-paced, high-scoring football. Your group will receive discounted tickets, options for reserved seating, scoreboard messages, VIP services, swag, and a space to gather during the game. You can also participate in pre-game ceremonies, halftime entertainment, in-game contests, and more. Call 701-595-0771 or visit bismarckbucks.com/tickets. All GA is first come, first serve. We'll see you on the turf. Go Bucks!
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
All right, we are back. It's No Apologies on Beck, and very happy to bring to you a special guest, Joey Gilbert, who is well, as I said before, he's a rock star. And he is an attorney. He's very knowledgeable about so many things and about COVID and other particular aspects that you people hear us talk about on our show so often, which is why I'm excited to have him on. Also a boxer, a very successful boxer in the past. I don't follow boxing, but I can only say that I admire those that are brave enough to get in the ring and do that kind of thing. But Joey, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Always awesome to get on and spend time with like-minded folks. So I'm glad to hear, we had a visit just very briefly where you were bringing up many of the same topics that I deal with every day, that I've been fighting for this state of Nevada for over a year now. I've been in the trenches. I think that this COVID-19 nonsense has, played itself out, in my opinion. And I think that these governors that are still holding on to it and still maintaining any type of a public health emergency, any way, shape, or form, are absolute criminals. And they need to stop. They need to be removed. They need to resign or be thrown in prison, one of the three. But I've just had it. This whole thing has been nonsense from the jump. The death rate has dropped by over, 90% in Northern Nevada since May 2020. We are now in June, about to be July 2021. We didn't even have as high of a spike in the hospitals this last cold and flu season as we did put up against the last two cold and flu seasons. So I just don't buy it anymore. I'm done. I am COVID fatigued. I just don't even do COVID anymore. I've never worn a mask. I've never masked any of my staff. We never had any problems with COVID in there. We washed our hands and we treated it like the flu bug that it is. And I'm not saying COVID is not a dangerous, virus that for the certain segment of the population or certain people with comorbidities could not affect them worse than others. But there absolutely 100% is treatment for it. There's numerous, treatments, FDA approved drugs, maybe not for COVID, but for COVID-19 efficacy. They're the highest efficacy in the world. And it's just scary that here we are in June 2021, still talking about, still worried about, still dealing with COVID-19. which, like I said, ended, in my opinion, last May 2020.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to go back to one point you brought up, Joey, and that is with regard to our elected officials that are imposing lockdowns and imposing various restrictions, and that it is at this point criminal. It was questionable from the get-go, and at this point it's criminal. And we here on No Apologies keep harping on this because I firmly believe that when COVID-19 rebounds, or if it's going to be COVID-21, or it's going to be something else like swine flu, avian flu, whatever else, they're going to jump right back into the same type of behavior. And unless we keep beating this drum, that's what's going to happen. And it is criminal at this point. It's proven without a doubt. We've covered it recently. Great studies out there. It did not have any significant impact. All of these draconian measures which harmed people
Right, that's what
and
actually
harmed the
people.
economy.
Right.
Yeah. Did far worse. All the measures they did, proof, it's irrefutable now. I don't even need to get into it. Every study they did from here across Europe, across the South Pacific, anywhere they did it, the lockdowns did nothing. And in fact, it was the blue states and those other countries with the strictest lockdowns that had the highest infection rates, that had the highest mortality rates, that had the highest unemployment, the highest suicide, the highest children's sexual abuse, domestic abuse, addiction. I can go on and on and on and on. Everything, as we call now the excess deaths from the response to COVID-19, far exceed the deaths from COVID-19. And again, this isn't Joey Gilbert making this up. Go fact check me. Go on the CDC and you'll see that they even did an adjustment that less than 5% of those that died from COVID-19 actually died from COVID-19. Or I should say, let me say that. Those that died with COVID-19 actually died from COVID-19. And so that adjusts that number to about 35,000 people. Most of them had the average of four comorbidities or more. So this whole thing has been ridiculous. There should be no more masks on our children. There should be no business restrictions. There should be no mask, period, unless you're sick. And in that case, here's a real, brain, just rocket science. Stay home. Okay.
Right. It's like
if you're sick, stay home.
It's not tough, people. It's not that hard.
Yeah, exactly. The aspect of the medications you brought up, one of which is hydroxychloroquine. Now, I don't know the details of it, but my understanding is you have a lawsuit against the governor and others because of their barriers they put in place. Right. That's the hydroxy, right?
Hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. Ivermectin, 238 peer-reviewed, double-blind, triple gold, backflip studies, whatever you want to call it. They're out there, peer-reviewed. I'm just done. It's like, it's painful to hear people still talk about this. They just did a weight-adjusted 200% chance of survival or 200% chance of doing better, surviving, not being hospitalized versus not taking this. And we're still going to argue about this? I mean, it's coming out from every university. They're using it in almost every other country as a prophylaxis along with ivermectin. And yet we still have to hear people come out and say that it was like Trump conspiracy theory. No. Actually, it's Anthony Fauci's Virology Today article, November 2005, that called chloroquine, or its sister, hydroxychloroquine, a potent inhibitor of the SARS-CoV coronavirus infection and spread. And it was Anthony Fauci who went on to refer to it as a wonder drug, or vaccine. So it's mind-blowing. And again, then if you look at the Fauci emails, which is it's over. I mean, Fauci should be in prison. The guy should be charged. When he's got a physicist, Eric Nielsen, sending him an email in early March 2020, talking about sickle cyanide, Alvesco, or sickle cyanide being used in late stage COVID patients on ventilators in China, Japan, and Korea, and saving their lives. And then it's so safe that it can be used from infants to those 100+ years old or more. That's it. And then on that very same email, he then goes on to say, and there's another medication working equally as well, but we didn't refer to it as the silver bullet like sickle cyanide, but he goes on to talk about hydroxychloroquine. So I don't know how many times you guys saw Anthony Fauci come out and give a press conference on how well this therapeutic or how well this medication was working in the other countries, but I never saw one time. Matter of fact, he came out and said anecdotal evidence and some other nonsense, yet he has his own papers talking about it, 10 years or 15 years ago. It's disgraceful. It's disgusting.
Yeah. It's really frightening to me because it's not just a matter of being incompetent, right? I mean, this is
pathological.
Basically a strategy.
Yeah, it is.
It was politicized, and people were affected in terrible, terrible ways because of it. And we saw it across the globe. I cannot believe how this is what shocks me, the globalization and politicization of something like COVID-19 that should have been handled entirely differently. It forebodes a very concerning future. Again, which is why we have to keep beating this drum.
But what we have to do is this can never happen again.
Exactly.
What has to happen is this can never happen again. And how we do that is what I did. Is so out here in Nevada, you guys read a little bit about it, but I was able to open successfully 8 rural counties. So what happened was we've got the rural counties, which are the more red conservative counties surrounding more metropolitan areas like Las Vegas or like Washoe County where I'm at. And you had these places up there where they didn't have high infection rates anyway. These people just a little different minded anyway. And so what we were able to do was go and meet with their county commissioners. I did hundreds of hours of Zoom calls, probably thousands, and met with these county commissioners. And we were able to find, using the NRS, they could basically they issued an emergency, economic resolution that superseded the governor's emergency declarations. And they opened up their counties because they said, your declarations are destroying us. So they took some, I guess, control back at the local level, opened up at the local level, took their masks off their people, opened their businesses to 100%. The only thing we couldn't do is get the masks off the kids because of these teachers unions and these school districts, which are ridiculous. But now it's time to go backwards and get rid of any of these county commissioners that were talking, not talking the right way. Health district people, health officers, city council members, mayors. Here's the last thing I'll say. If you sat on your hands and you censored the truth and you peddled the fear this last 15 months, you're out. Get them out. Get all these people out so that it can never happen again. Pay very close attention. If you saw these people, because here's the thing, I got friends on both sides. So I'm in these Democrat fundraisers where outside they're in 2 masks, but inside there's no masks and they're taking pictures and they're actually doing shots. Okay, so tell me what's going on, right? What's going on? Either the masks work or the masks, it can't be both. So same thing goes with the kids. Their kids are out, their kids are leaving school, taking the masks off and running and playing with these same kids, and they're hanging out with these same parents and they're doing dinner. But as soon as they walk into school, it's the mask gotta go on, right? Yep.
It's a lot about appearances. It's a lot about virtue signaling. Joey, hang on. We are going to keep you around for another segment here, folks. We will be right back. Stick with us.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with 1 truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make 1 call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Prairie Patriot Firearms and Training is the region's most complete gun and training center. 5-lane indoor range, a gun shop, and a certified training facility. Firearms training courses are offered daily for new, intermediate, and advanced shooters. If you're not comfortable in a classroom setting, Prairie Patriot offers one-on-one private lessons, from basic self-defense training to concealed weapons testing, along with a full line of guns, ammunition, holsters, and concealment clothing. Prairie Patriot, 3930 Memorial Highway, PRAIRIEPATRIOT.com.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York style pizza. We also feature gyros with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
All right, we are back. It's No Apologies on Beck, your after-hours oasis of sanity. I'm your host, Rick Beck, our co-host, Lori Hintz, and our special guest, Joey Gilbert, live from Nevada. So great stuff, Joey. I really, I appreciate the angle you're coming from. We agree on essentially all of it, but the passion you bring and the knowledge you bring, I think, is invaluable. A little bit more on the meds, because I think that it just can't be overstated how available and cheap these meds were, how we knew they were effective, and yet how we were told they were not advisable nor going to be available for COVID-19.
Well, I think what's so really, really important about this is, number one, COVID-19, for those people that know, as you guys have probably seen this before, the death rate for COVID-19, 0 to 19, is 99.97%. 20 to 49, 99.98. 50 to 69, 99.5. Okay, but what they don't tell you about that's so unbelievable, that's without treatment. With treatment, which is readily available, except for the governors that banned it, and they did that for a reason, which I'll get into a second. Without treatment, you still have a 99, even if you're 50 to 60, 50 to 70, 99.5. Like, I mean, give me a break. Like, what were we doing this entire time? The only problem is this was the first time in American history and world history where you came to the hospital positive for pneumonia and COVID, and they sent you home and said, come back when you're sicker. I mean, that just makes zero sense. When for less than $50 at the corner drugstore, they could have put you on some hydroxychloroquine, some vitamin D3, and some zinc sulfate, and you would have been absolutely a new person, within 12 hours, if not sooner. And I know this because I've seen it happen to thousands of people. Now, what's really important that everyone needs to understand, and this is why we have to drill down on this, the whole reason that the therapeutics were hidden, and this is Judy Mikovits, she said this, there was never a duty to protect us. There was only a duty to infect us. And you have to understand, what does that mean? They had something that was so easily treatable, something that could have been such a non-issue. But if they didn't have the fear, if they didn't have deaths piling up, if they didn't have people so scared from a disease that was so deadly that you had to be tested for it, right? And a vaccine so safe you had to be paid, incentivized to take it, they would have never got this far. This has been the biggest psyop ever run on the American people and the global population ever. And every one of these guys belongs in prison. Every single one of them. CDC, FDA, NIH, WHO, lock them all up. This is a Nuremberg 2.0 deal here. But let me tell you this. The reason why this is so important is because, let me just read you this. The Fauci ouchie, as I'll call it, is only being offered under an emergency use authorization. All right. So it's called an EUA. And under an EUA, the FDA may allow the use of an unapproved medical product in an emergency to diagnose, treat, or prevent serious or life-threatening diseases or conditions when certain statutory criteria have been met, including that there are no adequate, approved, or available alternatives. And my footnote is straight off the FDA Vaccines Blood Biogenics. Now, I say that to you because the reason why hydroxychloroquine has been so fought and so maligned and so put in the corner and so forbidden by other big pharma and other hospital chains from being used is because if there's an alternative approved treatment, then there's no EUA for the vaccine. And the Fauci ouchie is a bad deal. It's actually going to do far more damage than good. Now, I'll say this. President Trump is right when he says he saved millions of lives by getting this vaccine to market early. And I believe that's true because if you've seen this delusional left, these absolute, I mean, for the first time in America, science, facts, scientific data has been thrown out the window for emotion. You know, no one cares. There's a new cult. There's these double mask people, even though, again, this, you can go back as far as the flu. There's never been a respiratory virus that's been controlled by a cloth mask, okay? You would need to be in a friggin', NASA spacesuit, okay, a Terminex suit with a, big helmet on to get away to protect it. Look what they wear look what they wear in these labs. So now you think the gaiter you got on, the cloth, the bandana you're wearing, the mask you bear, which is why in Fauci's emails it said the mask you buy at the store will not protect you from the particle size, from the virus because of the particle size. So I say this to you guys because I know science has evolved. Now you start hearing from our friends on the left or Democrats or these biased, corrupt political hat governors that the science evolved. Okay, so the science evolved. So does that mean that the coronavirus particulate size grew by about 500 times in the last 6 months, or it didn't? Because either it did or didn't. And if it didn't, then your mask doesn't work. You need to be quiet, take the face diaper off, and let's get back to business. And that's really what happened. There's no evolution of science. It's just now that we've gotten to where the vaccines are out there. So now we're saying take the Fauci ouchie, but people really need to be think twice about this. This thing is not going away. And exactly what you guys said earlier, they're going to use the next cold and flu season and they're going to say, oh my God, it's the South American variant. It's okay. I mean, first of all, I thought it was racist to say it was from China, but it's okay to say South American variant or
right.
Brazilian variant or the Mexican variants come in. And now everybody's got to be distance learning again and we got to be homeschooled again. Or is it just that it's cold and flu season? Y'all need to take a deep breath. You're never going to stop this. If you're sick, stay home and wash your hands. I just solved it all for you.
And Joey, if people want to get hydroxychloroquine, it is so inexpensive. It's not really an expensive medicine. It's widely available.
Yeah, and it was over the counter. It was over the counter. You know how you know, this is how you knew that hydroxychloroquine worked. You said something funny about Mexico, but when this first happened, I put it out on the wire to my people. I got a guy everywhere to get some hydroxychloroquine brought in. Hydroxychloroquine worked when 3 companies bought up all the supply in Mexico within the first few days and then started selling it back at 10 times the amount. That's how you know it worked. Okay. So it's kind of funny, but no, it's a very inexpensive drug. You can go on americasfrontlinedoctors.org, AFLDS.org, click on the COVID-19 button, but any telepharmacy, you can go on there now. And here's another thing. If you have a doctor in your relationship, in your circle, that tells you this medication doesn't work and looks at you like you're crazy, fire him or her on the spot and go get a new doctor because they're not reading, they're not educated. This is hand over hand, the most effective medication worldwide. 238 golden triple whatever backflip studies, peer-reviewed studies out there, okay? I know they're double-blinded. I know they're peer-reviewed. I'm being funny, but they're out there saying the most effective medication. But budesonide, okay, which is a corticosteroid. Then you got ivermectin. Then you got the siclosinide. There's about a dozen different medications. And again, what do doctors do? What do real doctors do? Like that Dr. Peter Corey, who testified before the Senate committee said, they repurpose already known medications to be used in a pandemic. So if we were really in a pandemic and people gave a hoot about the American public, they would have commissioned a task force to look at already approved medications and repurpose those said medications to be used for COVID, which for the first time in any American crisis or pandemic, we didn't do. So some very smart doctors did do it. They went out, they found what worked. It's now been proven time and time again. And like I said, there are many countries across the planet right now that are using this for their healthcare workers, that are using this as a prophylactis. It's working 100%. And again, this is Peter Corey. When he comes out and says, out of the 8 peer-reviewed studies, 800 healthcare workers took this as a prophylaxis. I'm talking ivermectin, and 800 didn't get it. I don't know what else you need, but let's get with the program here and get on these medications that work before we get to cold and flu season.
Agreed. Very good. Very, very good, Joey. We are going to bring Joey back for one final segment. Folks, stay with us. We will be right back.
We're the ladies of Another View, bringing you a fresh view on local issues.
And different perspectives you won't get on the mainstream media. Watch us weekday afternoons at 4:30 Central Time on Beck News and at beck.news.
When you're buying windows, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Hi, I'm Jesse with the Window Source. We only sell you the best windows and doors for the best price. Call the Window Source. Just because you pay less doesn't mean you get less.
If you don't know what's going on in education in this country, then you don't know what's going to happen in the future of this country. And it's important. I'm Dr. Duke.
And I'm Katie.
Watch the Dr. Duke Show weekdays at 4 p.m. Central Time on Beck TV.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
All right, it's No Apologies, and we are back with Joey Gilbert for a final segment, somewhat short segment. This is such good stuff. Joey, thank you so much for being on. I know that our viewers are enjoying it very much. As we come to this shorter segment, I want to give you the opportunity to bring up any points that you've not yet been able to bring up regarding COVID. Every point you brought up has been salient. Every point you've brought up, I am in 100% agreement with. So I'm going to give the floor to you for a couple of minutes here.
All right. I mean, I'll just sum it up really quickly. So COVID was a manufactured, made in a lab virus through Fauci's gain of function research that he was doing. It was, if you look, January 12, 2017, he talks about the fact that President Trump will absolutely face a pandemic before the end of his presidency. Shockingly, it's out. And obviously, I mean, people that don't know this, it was actually in the United States in late November, early December 2019. They knew exactly what they were doing. There was coding in already some hospitals for COVID-19 as early as December 2019. There were PCR tests and the ingredients for those tests actually ordered as early as 2018 and 2019. So this was all planned. And it was all planned to scare the public, to usher in a bunch of fear so that we could get to what? Mail-in voting. So we could get to these mail-in ballots. It was always about the election. It was always about scaring the American people into compliance so they stayed at home in their masks so that they could usher in these mail-in voting in the swing states. And then shockingly, surprise, surprise, for the first time in American history, the vote count is stopped in the 6 swing states that the president's winning in, that he needs to win. The voting is stopped. And it also happens to be the 6 swing states where the most egregious, adjustments to the voter laws and to voting took place, right down to the mail-in ballots. So again, this was all a game. They wanted you stuffed in your house, in your mask, so they could control you. They needed to scare you by hiding the medications you could be saved on. So that's why you saw COVID medications totally, scare tactics against them. You can die from them. This was all a plan. All right. So just get that through your heads. Voter integrity. Now we have to fight back through voter integrity. We have to make sure that this can never happen again, that the stuff they did across this nation and across our counties, we've got to use this to flip it back on them. So critical race theory that we're seeing in schools, county health officers that kept masks on kids, school districts and superintendents that did not do what was best for the children, they all got to go. With the lesson to be taken from this COVID-19 thing is never again. Don't ever give these people power again. Any elected leader that sat on their hands, that censored the truth, all right, and that peddled the fear, get them out. You know who they are. Get out of them. Get rid of them. Don't give these jokers another penny. Don't give them a dime. Burn them out. Rat them out. Get them out. Start at the county level. Get rid of these clowns, number one. Then get rid of these city council people, these mayors, whoever they were that played this game, one at a time. Rhino's got to go and bring in people that at least were willing to follow the science, which was like, oh my God, this is a 99% survivability rating. Maybe we shouldn't do this. Oh my God, kids aren't super spreaders. Oh my God, they're not going to, asymptomatically spread it to them. So maybe they should be allowed to play their sports. Whoever did that, get rid of them. That's what you need to know about COVID. You need to know about COVID. Never again do we cede our freedoms and give up our constitutional rights to a bunch of bought and paid for corrupt political hacks. That's what you got to do.
Absolutely. I think that when this happens again, whether it's COVID-19 or another, I think that we are going to see folks like our viewers, yourself, ourselves, really standing up and taking action immediately. I mean, they really, if they think that it's going to be as easy as it was this last time, I think they're going to be in for a huge surprise because we learned some really tough lessons.
Yeah, good luck getting the public to mask up again. I've been saying this again. It's my #1 speech. Don't ever put on a mask again. Don't ever shut your businesses down again. Don't ever let them send your kids home again. And if they do, get a homeschool plan together, get with some like-minded parents and teach them a lesson. Because first of all, these schools are garbage anyway. And until we fix this indoctrination garbage that they're shoving down our kids' throats, they shouldn't even be there anyway. But we'll get to that. But we can take this country back one county, one city council, and one school district at a time. And I suggest we do.
Amen, brother. Amen. Joey Gilbert, thank you very much for being on. Our viewers have seen your website, the Frontline Doctors website. You guys visit there, donate, do what you can. This gentleman is a patriot. Joey, thanks so much. Folks, we are going to be back for another segment. Stick with us.
Thanks, guys.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all. Spas, etc.
You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you can pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York style pizza. We also feature gyros with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
All right, welcome back. It's No Apologies on Beck. Joey Gilbert, that was pretty
good.
awesome, huh?
So great, great information, and it's all common sense stuff too. I mean, we've been talking about it. He's been talking about it. You just have to keep beating that drum and let people know that you're on the right track when your gut tells you that hydroxychloroquine is okay for you. So, yeah.
All right, so you've got an interesting topic for us involving Joe Manchin, Senator Joe Manchin.
Now, Joe Manchin, if you're not aware, is one of those people who is kind of a lightning rod because he can flip either way, Democrat or Republican, on many, many issues. But the main issue that we have been talking about forever, with dovetailing with what Joey said about election integrity, the most threatening thing to election integrity that we can even think about right now is HR 1 or S1, is this massive takeover of how elections are even held is being pushed by the Democrats. And they know that if they can get this passed, that they forever and ever and ever will win all elections. That's basically the bottom line.
I was going to say, if HR 1 were to pass somehow, ending the filibuster, however, that will bring about the dissolution of the United States.
It would. It would stop
And
the United States
that's
of
not
America.
hyperbole.
No,
I'm
it isn't.
saying
That's actually a fact. So I found a story, a National Review, that I would like to show you. If you would pull that up, please. This story is talking about Joe Manchin, and it says Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia said Sunday that he will vote against Democrats for the People Act, which is the name for H.R. 1, and he will also oppose weakening or eliminating the filibuster, as he believes partisan voting legislation will destroy the already weakening binds of our democracy. Also, Manchin's comments came in an op-ed that he penned for the Charleston Gazette-Mail that was published on Sunday. So he said it publicly and put it out there. Well, as you can imagine, that is not sitting very well with the left at all, because they desperately need his vote. Anyway, all right, let's move to the next one. The next one, however, it is unlikely Democrats will be able to find the 60 votes needed to advance the legislation in the Senate. This has led many progressives to argue that the Senate should eliminate the filibuster's 60-vote threshold, as you alluded to, the filibuster, to allow Democrats to pass their agenda with a simple majority. Now, Manchin notes that Democrats have attempted to demonize the filibuster and conveniently ignore how it has been critical to protecting the rights of Democrats in the past. Now, this is a very interesting point. If you decide at some point that you are going to eliminate the filibuster, it's going to come back to bite you eventually at some point. In this case, it is an interesting prospect that they would get rid of it. And the Republicans have been on the same side. They have done the same thing where they've like, oh, it would be really good if we just got rid of the filibuster. But then when you're in power, then you realize that you have to really make.
I think that several of the things that the Democrats, and more particularly the far left Democrats, are proposing, I think they think it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it comes back to bite us, because what we are proposing is so extreme. So extreme.
Over the top.
We will rule.
Yeah.
And we don't have to worry about coming back to bite us.
That's entirely possible. I think it's very interesting about Joe Manchin in that he has a history of kind of bucking his party, if you will. But then at the same time, when it comes down to it, he tends to wobble at the very end, and all of a sudden he magically votes with the Democrats again. So it's really frightening for me that somebody is even saying that he's going to vote against this, because I don't necessarily believe it until the rubber hits the road, if you will. So I found another article that was really interesting to me, too. This was on MSNBC, and if you guys would show that on the screen, too. And this is talking about Manchin's biggest crimes have been his unwillingness to bow to the far left's agenda. And believe me, after he made this announcement, they are all over him. Most recently, the attempt at sweeping federal election reform, known as the For the People Act, and his repeated refusal to kill the filibuster, which would allow Democrats to force their agenda through the Senate. His stance has garnered a lot of hate and unhinged reactions from the left, as you can imagine. Now, when MSNBC host Stephanie Ruhle asked Harrison, this fellow, well, you'll see it in a moment here, what Manchin is supposed to do, considering he represents a conservative-leaning West Virginia populist, Harrison, who is the chair of the DNC, gave no quarter, accusing the senator of being, quote, against America. So he says that if Manchin votes this way, then he's just voting against America, which is very, very funny to me, because he's actually saving America by voting against it in the view of the right.
True.
So now I have also a clip for you of this delightful piece and watch for the blatant, I will call it revisionist history and truth bending in this tape here. This is the chair.
You are someone who understands, though, what it is like to be a Democrat appealing to constituents in a pretty red state. Democrats in South Carolina or West Virginia are not the same as Democrats in New York or California. If Joe Manchin does what progressives want him to do, does he risk losing his seat?
Well, Joe Manchin needs to do what Americans want, what our senators to do, which is to protect their right to vote. Because if we don't protect that right, that is the right by which all other rights are built upon, Stephanie. And, it is the great equalizer. You could have a billionaire CEO, and you can have the lowly factory worker that does the janitorial work. They have one vote, and it's worth the same thing. And when you decide to take away that vote from folks, then this great experiment that we have all falls apart. And so that's what we want. We're not asking for any partisan thing. This is not, you know, people say, well, the both sides. This is not a both sides thing. Either you are for all Americans voting or you're against it. Either you're for securing democracy or you're against it. People need to make a decision on where they are on this issue, because it's not a both sides. It's either you're for America or you're against it.
You're either for America or you're against it. And wow, is that ever interesting? It's some serious spin there from the DNC chair.
Huge spin. You either agree with the DNC, you either agree with the progressives, you either agree with the far left agenda.
Or you hate America.
Or you hate America. That's
right.
exactly.
Isn't that funny? So this Gazette Mail article that Joe Manchin wrote is titled "Joe Manchin, Why I'm Voting Against the For the People Act," and it's just delightful too. He says the right to vote is fundamental to our American democracy, and protecting that right should not be about party or politics.
True.
What a beautiful way of actually delineating that too. He
said,
as long
as he sticks with it.
Yeah, and it's very, very precarious, because I have seen flips before at the last 11th hour, and somebody gets to him and somebody strong arms him. Various groups have been meeting with him from the left, coming in and trying to convince him, and so far he's held firm. But he says, least of all, protecting this right of the right to vote, which is the value I share, should never be done in a partisan manner. And that's, I think, what's been lost in the country above all else, is that we have gotten literally so partisan that we can't even think about things that we collectively agree with, which is that the right of to vote is fundamental to our democracy. It's fundamental to our country's survival.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I just don't know what to think about Joe. What he's written is fantastic. And if that's what's in his heart, amazing and wonderful. But I do know that he has taken positions that we would agree with, that would be against the Democrat Party, but then at the last minute, when they actually needed him, because it's so easy, and this happened with Senator Heitkamp in North Dakota, where she was like, you know, I'm going to vote against this. Well, that's only because they counted the votes ahead of time. They didn't need their vote. So we'll see what happens.
All right, next time join us, because we are going to have Danielle Mickelson, and she is from Institute for Justice, and we'll talk with her, and also an Off the Cuff. We'll see you soon.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.